Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fisher Fitness Coaching Podcast. This is episode 42, something a bit different this week. I got one of my current clients on to have a chat with just about his coaching experience with myself, what he's achieved and how he's achieved it and how he's found the whole coaching experience while working with me for the last couple of years. He's gone through a couple of different phases. So he's experienced a fat loss phase and building phase, back into a fat loss phase again. So yeah, it was really good to have him on to just go through everything we've done together and how he's managed to achieve the results he's achieved while having such a busy job and having such a busy lifestyle and a social lifestyle, I suppose. So yeah, so I hope you enjoy it. Again, appreciate you coming on, Ben. It's been a while. Obviously, we've had like a few sort of back and forths about when to actually get this done, and I know work's sort of been in the way or got in the way and vice versa. So yeah, it's cool to actually get you on. I want to try at some point get more of you guys on to chat to me about your journey and all that kind of stuff. But it's quite, I don't know. I mean, I guess it can be quite difficult to come on and chat, and I found it quite difficult at first. But yeah, I mean, it's cool for you to agree to that and chat about your journey. So do you want to go through a bit about yourself and like who are you, how we came to work together? Because it's been quite long now, isn't it? It's been a while. So I was thinking about this and like, how did it actually start? When did it start?
Well, from my recollection, I mean, well, first of all, my name's Ben. I'm 32 years old. I live in Norwich. I'm a I'm a senior editor for a digital magazine company, and I started working with you in January of 2022. I had to text you and ask this because I couldn't actually remember the year. But before that, I think your services came onto my radar through working in the same gym. You just happened to be training with your clients at the same gym that I went to, Phoenix Gym. And I just saw how you worked with the clients, and it resonated with me. I mean, there are an array of different coaches for an array of different people, and your style just resonated more with me than some of the other styles that I saw in my time at Phoenix Gym, but at other gyms as well. And so I think that got us just chatting. We happened to be training at the same time, so it was just like an awareness by osmosis, if that makes sense. And then and that was in probably the year or two building up to the point where I actually started working with you, and I followed you on Instagram. I saw that you were running the 8 Weeks to Leaner project, and I think I was part of the second cohort of that.
I think you were the first as well, weren't you? Well, I was thinking about this. I wasn't sure if you were like one of the first sort of members, and then you did the second one as well. Or
Yeah, I did 2022 and 2023, but I believe you did a cohort in 2021 because I can remember you saying things to me like, "Oh, I've improved the spreadsheets and the resources," and so I was an early cohort, but I wasn't the first. I can't claim that honor, unfortunately. I'm not like
an
OG. And yeah, so that's kind of how I started working with you.
Cool. Yeah. So it was the 8 Weeks to Leaner.
Yeah.
Obviously 8 weeks. And then you came on after that as an online client, right?
That's correct. So it was 2 rounds of 8 Weeks to Leaner.
Was it? Okay.
Had good results in both of them. And it was, it seemed like a natural progression, to use a cliche gym term, to then step up to the online coaching system. And that's what I did.
And here you are.
Here I am.
I think you're you're my longest serving online client, definitely.
Yeah.
I've got a face-to-face client a lady called Jude, who I've been coaching now since like 2017.
Yeah.
I think.
Wow.
I went traveling for a bit and then came back, and she came back as well. So it's been a long time. She's very loyal, as you are as well. So that's why I must be doing something all right for you to be staying, and
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice. But so I guess my first sort of main question is, before you signed up during or to one of the 8 Weeks to Leaners, what was your what was your main struggles when it came to wanting to achieve your goal? Because obviously your goals, I don't think haven't changed much.
No.
So what was it that you were struggling with the most, which made you think, right, I could do with some help here?
I think the catalyst for me was lockdown. I mean, I have trained in gyms and been fairly active with my training since I was 16. So I've been in gyms for many, many years, but lockdown was just a hugely disruptive event, right? I mean, on multiple levels. But for me personally, I shifted to running. I had to do what I could with body weight workouts, and I fell out of love with the gym, to be
Yeah,
perfectly honest.
I remember that.
And I was struggling to get back and find a sense of direction and purpose. And don't get me wrong, I floated along as soon as the gyms reopened, but I wasn't finding my mojo. And I thought, you know what, an 8 week kind of framework, an 8 week program could be the catalyst to reignite that passion for the gym, which it did, and helped me lose some weight in the process. I think I lost about 7 kilograms in that first round, which was great. And I mean, I had a bit of Terry Timber that I'd put on over lockdown, so that was abundantly welcome. And yeah, so the catalyst for me was that falling out of love with a hobby and a passion, and trying quite desperately to reignite that.
Mm. It must have happened a lot for a lot. I mean, yeah, a lot for a lot of people falling out of love with that. What thing was it that made you fall out of love with it? Just because you couldn't train in the gym, or because you struggled to train at home, or I mean, because I don't know. During lockdown when I was sort of training at home, I don't I don't think I enjoyed it at all. But I
Yeah,
just sort of yeah, I did it because it was the only thing that kept me just sane, I suppose.
yeah,
Was it
yeah.
the workouts just weren't intense enough? They just didn't sort of hit the spot, I suppose, or
I think it's part of the workouts weren't appealing. I mean, I didn't lose a huge amount of strength, but I everything felt harder, and that made it difficult. Also, in lockdown, I turned to running, and I actually really enjoy that for lockdown, to get outside, to get a bit of fresh air. I started listening to like audiobooks and podcasts, so that became almost like a groove, like a habit in its own right. So then to change lanes and go back to a previous habit was I didn't. It was different. So it was just realigning what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, and getting used to it again.
mm,
So yeah, the workouts weren't super engaging. I felt weaker and less inspired is a strong word. I felt less motivated by the process. And so, yeah, I just thought, well, if I can take this out of my hands and have some investment in the process. I mean, you pay for a gym membership. I was like, well, I need an additional investment to give me that accountability. And I like systems, I like lists, I like knowing what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And yeah, it was the right tool at the right time for me.
mm. Yeah, nice. I sort of remember during lockdown, like doing these. I mean, the amount of some of the exercises I did were just ridiculous. I was trying everything possible to get some sort of stimulus on my muscles. Like it was like banded workouts, like doing reps of sets of 50, 60, whatever, you know. And oh
Yeah.
my God, it was just, yeah, it was pretty hard. It was pretty hard.
It was. I decided to do the couch to 5K because I'd
Mm,
attempted it 2 or 3 times, and uh, I finally completed it. But then I said to myself, right, within 100 runs of finishing the couch to 5K, I want to do a marathon, just because makes you do want to do stupid shit, right? I mean, you kind of you get caught up in
yeah.
doing what you can and controlling what you can. Like you said, you try and do new exercises, and all the while I was doing simple circuits of press ups, body weight squats, ab wheel rollouts, and just everything I could. But it's just not the same. It's not the same as taking yourself to the gym, finding your spot, finding your bench, whatever it is, and also the sense of community that comes with the
Mm,
gym. I think you train at a certain people tend to train at a similar time. You get to know the people that are there with you, and there is that almost camaraderie around this fact that you're all training, you're all trying to be a little bit better than you were before. that was impossible to replicate in lockdown unless you
Oh, yeah.
did, I guess, online classes or whatever was available at the time. But for me, that wasn't enough, and I definitely missed that for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, I guess you've sort of touched on it a little bit. So, from when you, I guess after the second 8 weeks to Lena, what was it that made you decide to sign up as a full-time sort of one-to-one client with myself? Or do you want to start with what made you think, sorry, what made you go from not being a client to the 8 weeks to Lena? But I think you've touched on that a little bit because you needed that sort of help.
Yeah, so that from like not being a client to taking a step into the 8 weeks to Lena, I just thought I liked the way you presented it. It was the message of simplicity, and it was there were key messages around the program which resonated with me. The fact that it wasn't it was a simple program. I like the way that you talked about the weight loss and the new ways to think about enjoying food um, that you love, but also doing so in a smart way, which appealed to me. It was the fact that it was a block, it was an experiment, and I've
Mm,
done now 2 experiments, and I think that helps explain why I then went from a 8 week to Lena client to an online client. Is that I saw the results. I mean, at a very simple level, I saw results from working with your system and the advice you gave me and the accountability you gave me, and I thought, well, if I can achieve this in an 8 week program, well, what could I do as a permanent client?
mm.
And so that factored into it, the success and the evidence before me, and also the yeah, just that curiosity of like, well, what comes next? What can I do now? And
That's exactly why I did it. So, it's good. It's good to hear that because, like, with any sort of online coach, you do like a group coaching program with the
yeah,
aim to, yeah, just sort of give out a little taster of what you can do
yeah,
with your clients, and then, yeah, you said that right. Like, well, what if I can get results with this, then what can
yeah,
I get as an online client? So, yeah,
yeah. But
glad
also, not to just belittle it, but to simplify it as a sales funnel. It's more than that. It was how you engaged with me on the 8 weeks to Lena. It was how we communicated in the previous iterations of group chats and things like that. And I was like, right, this is something I can get on board with. And so it was also the system, but also your help within the system that kind of
it.
pushed me towards the online coaching for sure.
Nice, nice. 'Cause I seem to remember we had a chat in the gym about coaching. I'm
Yeah,
sure we did, but then something or other happened, and I think I don't know, it wasn't the right time for
yeah,
you, I suppose. And
yeah,
then, yeah, I mean, all it took was you to try out a few weeks here and there of how
yeah,
I worked with
yeah.
clients, and yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's good. Works well. I kind of want to do another 8 weeks to lean, and I've been thinking about it, but I put a poll up well, no, not recently, about a month ago, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just not there. I don't think the interest, but you never know.
I
No, no,
wonder. I wonder if that's because at the moment this is the kind of the time of year where people are still experimenting with their new year, new me kind of journey, which is great. And don't get me wrong, if it happens to fall on a January, new year, new me is great, but it can fall on March, it can fall in October, it can fall whenever. But I do wonder if maybe the people that are inclined to it might just be kind of uh, still working through the mechanisms of what they're trying to do anyway. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, of course, yeah. You never know. One day soon, maybe next January, I'll try another one. Why not? Yeah,
Absolutely.
cool. So, um, what what's been your most beneficial part of the coaching so far? So let's go just with one-to-one coaching. What do you think, in your opinion, has been the most beneficial part?
It's definitely for me. There are several aspects that have been beneficial, but I think the system is what has been very beneficial for me. But that
You love the spreadsheets, don't you?
I love a spreadsheet. I love being able to visualize stuff. I like being able to track things. I'm quite yeah. I like that aspect of it for sure. But within that system, there's the accountability. So I don't like seeing blank workouts on my spreadsheet. I don't like missing measurement submissions or stuff like that. So having all of the tools and the resources just kind of gifted to me. I mean, I've got dozens of gym workout notebooks that I probably should just get rid of, but I still hold on to for whatever stupid reason. But to have an online digital system that's easy to use, you can see your progress, things like being able to visualize the total volume of your workouts, all of these great motivating insights are just there. And within the system as well. I find with gym programs, I'm sure a lot of people watching this and who are on their own fitness journey do as well, you can get analysis paralysis, right? You can totally get overwhelmed by the range of exercises you can do. You can get overwhelmed by the rep ranges, the movement, the tempo, all of these things. But what is great about working with you as an online coachee, right word? I don't know. You
Just go with
take
that.
Let's go with coaching. You take that a huge element of that decision fatigue out of the process and break it down into the kind of the 6 movement planes. You have a bank of exercises. You keep them. You adjust them based on what time availability you have, on whether you want to do 3 times a week or 4 times a week, and so that helps you just remove a lot of the decision fatigue and just structure it better, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Anything? I've just thought of this question. Is there anything to put you on the spot now? Is there anything you haven't used? Like, is there anything that which you haven't found useful? And this will help me a lot as well, because I'm always, like I said today, I'm always trying to improve and trying to bring things in which will help your journey as well as mine. But like, yeah, is there anything you haven't found useful which I could maybe?
I think the thing that I haven't used as well as I should have is some of the initial resources that you share in the database. I know that you've made some incredible, beautiful PDFs that are all branded up with meal plans that are like, say, 1,500 calories and under, 1,800 calories and under. Now, I think that the reason that I've done that is I like to control my diet. I love cooking. I'm quite invested in that process, so I know what I make and how I make it. So that's possibly something that if I'd have wanted to be a bit more experimental, I could have made better use of. And that's one element. That's probably the only element, really. I feel that everything else I'm kind of engaged with and had benefit from. So
you have. Yeah. I mean, you are one of the ones who has engaged in most of the resources and things I offer out. But yeah, it's the. But because I was going to say the same thing, I think that's one thing which people don't really tend to look into. Maybe I just need to get rid of it, and maybe the client area online, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
or it's a case of trying to improve that so it's a bit more easy. It's easier to sort of make your way around. Maybe I don't know. Turn into like a course, an online course, for example. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really tricky with hosting that type of information and making sure the right like security is in place, so only like the clients are using it. It's a tricky thing to balance. And also just making sure people understand the benefit of it, I guess, and then actually use it is a tricky journey to take people on. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, right? I mean, that's
Exactly.
the ultimate truth of it with anything like this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my sort of coaching is very similar to your want to get the best results possible. Like, I want to build the best coaching business, and you want the best results possible for you as well. Like we discussed at the week, just after the weekend on Monday, how you try and do too much, I think, and I'm very similar. Do you know what I mean? Like with your work, and you try and do this and this and this and this, and it's like, well, hang on, we need to try and rein it in a little bit and lower your expectations a little bit, and you can only do so much, can't you? You can only do your best.
Yeah. I'm definitely guilty of that. Like I think with my training, I start seeing, and I think I even found this with the shift from recently going from the building phase to the fat loss phase. I hated the fact that I'd built up like strength and was shifting big weights, and because I had a biological scientific level, I had the calories and the fuel to do that. I had to then radically adjust my expectations to the weight loss phase, which I mean, you can still lift heavy weights and lose weight. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard work, and I felt that wasn't, because I had that previous frame of reference to compare it to. I was disappointed in myself and felt that I was like, no, I need to change it and go back to the bulking phase so I can be lifting those heavy weights again. And then the sun comes out, and I'm like, damn it, I need to be running. I need to be on my bike. Like this
Yeah.
is infuriating. And it doesn't help that like my partner, she's an incredible athlete and inspires me in so many ways, and will get on the bike and cycle to Halton back in ridiculously short amount of time. And I'm like, there's that slight like competitive element with myself as well. And I just think it's you try to do too much on too many fronts, and ultimately you'll end up paying the price. Because I've done it before. I think in the second round of 8 weeks to Lena I did with you, I did a running challenge for Cancer Research UK, and I was doing 60 miles in a month, and it happened to be the same month that I was doing 8 weeks to Lena with you, and it fell in there, and lo and behold, I got injured. I mean, it was only 2 miles a day on average, but that was enough to nudge it over. I think I'm not sure you were aware that I was doing it until it was a bit too late, and then I said, oh yeah, by the way, I'm also doing this running challenge, and I just learned the hard way to not try this much.
Yeah, it's so easy to do though. It's so easy to do. It's but like you say, you make so much progress,
Mm-hmm.
in the building phase, and suddenly you've drastically cut your calories, and all of a sudden your strength goes. But yeah, I was going to say, so it sounds like and I've mentioned this to you a few times. You kind of want everything at one sort of. You want to build muscle, you want to lose body fat, you want to get faster, you want to get fitter. But I'm exactly the same. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm now currently in a fat loss phase because I want to get leaner. But now I'm like, oh shit, my strength's going down. I want to get bigger now. I want to push my calories back up. So it's just. But if you're doing that, you're bulking, you're cutting, you're bulking and cutting. So you're just maintaining in the long run. So that's why on this week check-in, I sort of said, look, let's just try and stick to one goal.
Yeah.
Try and manage that. Try and manage your time and your work and all that stuff. Everything's working because it is. Everything's going very, very well.
Yeah.
And that hopefully made you realize, right? Yeah, it's actually going all right. I'm doing well. Things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, it takes an outsider perspective, and that's what I really appreciate with your coaching and your coaching style, is that you can provide that external perspective. And if I'm getting wrapped around the axle about not shifting the same weight on a bench press or whatever thing it is that I've picked up on, like, you're there to kind of guide me back to the priority, which is for me at the moment losing some weight and getting myself sort of a bit leaner. And you just hold that in mind and refocus on that, and then it all falls back into place.
Because it's hard for me, like being a coach, like me wanting you to give you the best coaching possible and the best results. Like I was like reading it thinking, but I just change your workout plan. You're saying you're struggling with time, but you want to do more cardio. And I'm like, oh, but how can I do that without, do you know what I mean? So that's me racking my brains thinking, how can I put this into his program without using up more of his time? And like, but I can't.
I know. I'm sorry to be a diva.
No, not at all.
But no, I think that is a very human instinct, isn't it? Though, especially if you enjoy sports and exercise, to make progress, to get better at things, and it's a natural part of doing this type of hobby, basically. And but I think that remaining focused on the goal and kind of realigning yourself back to it is very, very helpful and very useful.
Nice. So what's been your standout part, which you think has helped you achieve the results you've achieved so far during the whole sort of online one-to-one coaching?
I think the calorie tracker has been incredibly useful. I mean, I know you encourage your clients to use MyFitnessPal as kind of the way to measure and track your food, but then being able to track that on the spreadsheet and see that alongside the weight fluctuations, and you can track it. You can see, oh, I've had a bit of a heavier weekend, so therefore your weight spikes a day or two on delay, and that almost immediate visualization, but also then seeing it over time. So, like you said, with the if you're flitting between bulking and cutting and bulking and cutting, you maintain. The tool actually shows that to you, and even though as we talked about, reminding ourselves of the goal of weight loss, I can go and look at my weight loss track, and of course there are spikes, but it is trending downwards, and then that reminds me, oh right, you're doing the right thing. And likewise in the building phase, it was nudging upwards, and that just showed me quite simply and effectively that I was doing the right things, the system was working, we were going in the right direction. So that's been probably the most useful part.
Yeah, yeah. I think, in my opinion, the more visuals I can get on the spreadsheet, the more useful it is for you guys to just actually see what is actually happening. Because
Yeah,
you can, like, the measurements now with the new sheet, the
yeah,
visuals come up every time you put your measurements in, and hopefully by tomorrow the new before and after picture
yeah,
system will be in there, which will be quite cool. So the more visuals I can get in there, the
yeah,
more it'll help you guys realize that, okay, yeah, it is working. Or if it
yeah,
isn't working, then it would, obviously I would see as well. If it's not working, then we'll change something.
yeah.
I think the more stuff like that, the better, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a toss up between the calorie element and the but again, it's closely related because it's another visual aspect, but the total volume. So, for instance, when you enter your weights and the rep ranges, and it's got that clever mechanism that multiplies it out. And I used to love seeing the total volume for my workouts, because if so say I hadn't quite hit the same volume on the leg press, I'm like, well, if I just have a little rest and then squeeze out a few extra reps, that will, and it gamifies it, right? I mean, we like to see the progress, and it gets you and it encourages you to keep making progress. So yeah, that visualization of all the data and all the hard work is really very useful and compelling, I find.
And it's those last 2-3 reps which you may not have done the week
Yeah,
before, which is going to elicit that little bit more muscle growth for next week. You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
yeah. So, in terms of the check-ins, how useful do you think they've been in terms of, because you are probably, well, no, I've got a few, but I think you are one of the best at filling out in
Mm,
detail the check-ins, the weekly check-ins. Like all the data's filled out. You answer all the questions. You give me some, juicy bit of data so I can read through, and then
mhm,
like the more data I get from you, anyone, the better. The more I can coach you.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, that's you've said it exactly there. I mean, the more data and input I have, the better you can coach me and the better you can guide me. So that's how I've always um, approached it for me. I find them very valuable. I think that there are you can look at the workouts and give me feedback on the workouts and then the physical side of things, and then there's also the dynamic of the feedback on the calories and the choices about, oh, I've got a week coming up where I've got several social outings, so how can we be pragmatic and proactive about that? And yeah, I find them incredibly useful. But like, what is it, what's the phrase, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you don't invest in that process, if I don't give you the tools to help me, well, I've only got myself to blame. And I think that and also, like, coaching, like, there's no beating around the bush here. Coaching is an investment, right? It's a
mm,
service, and I, for me, see that as another layer of accountability. I'm like, well, I'm investing in myself, I'm investing in the service. If I don't do my homework and do the check-ins, well, what's the point? And so at a very basic level, I'm okay, right, I'm investing in this.
oh, hello. I think Ben's frozen. You
Uh-oh.
there? There you are.
Yes, I'm back, sorry.
Nothing there. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, basically just see it as an investment in yourself, and yeah, the check-ins are only as useful as you make them, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
what it boils
yeah,
down to.
definitely. If I've got no data, I'm basically blind. I can't, I'm just sort of guessing. So, and it's surprising how many people just sort of sign up with a coach and then expect, okay, cool, I'm gonna get results now because I've got a coach. But you've actually got to do the work, and you
Yeah.
do a lot. You do a lot of work. You're training consistently. you're filling out everything, you're actually doing the work, and that's applaudable, because the amount of work you've got going on is insane. So the fact that you're doing all this is as well, it's the reason you are getting the results you are getting, because you do everything by the book. You
Thank you.
got the
Thank
eye
you. I
and the
appreciate
quality.
it.
Sorry.
I think as well, the other part of it is that I can see why. Like, I mean, filling in, I know I joked and called it homework earlier, but it is, you have to take the time to enter the data and make sure that you're tracking whilst you do your workouts. But if you just kind of habit stack it, like, I mean, our check-ins are on a Sunday, right? So I make myself a nice coffee on a Sunday morning, and I'm like, right, well, it's check-in time, and I just get it done. And then you dovetail it with something that you enjoy, a nice coffee on a Sunday morning,
Love
and
that.
it becomes so much easier. And it just becomes natural. That just becomes part and parcel of it, you know.
Yeah.
So that's how I approach it. And yeah, I think it's if you haven't got that feedback loop, well, like you said, what's the point? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah, nice. No, good stuff. Good stuff. So what do you think has been your biggest changes you've noticed in yourself, whether it's mental, physical,
Yeah.
since coming on to the team?
Um, Physically, I mean, I lost quite a lot of weight with you both times in the 8 weeks to leaner. I felt that a lot of that lockdown blubber went quite quickly, which is great, and so I feel that I got leaner. And then during the building phase, I've noticed myself just happier with my body. I just noticed um, before working with you as a coach, I was, you could tell that I exercised and I was fit and healthy, but it wasn't like oh, this guy works out. And it's not all about that, and it's not all about the aesthetics, but it doesn't hurt. So I've definitely felt more confident in my body and how I look without a shirt on and stuff like that. And mentally, it's, yeah, I think I touched on it earlier when we talked about the removal of decision fatigue. I don't have to, with a busy schedule and quite a like hectic life, it's nice to not have to worry about something, which is actually quite an important part for me. And the gym is my happy place. I go there for my mental health. I go there for my physical health, and to not have to think, all right, well, what should I be doing? How should I be doing? It has, yeah, been hugely beneficial. And I think whenever you get into a rhythm with exercise, whether it's running, cycling, rowing, gymming, whatever it is, there is that sense of just flow, and that's been more easily accessible since I started sort of the coaching journey.
Nice. Yeah. Do you think it's sort of carried over into your work life in terms of, I don't know, like discipline, and how you are now as, do you know what I mean? Because you do so
Yeah,
much, and I'm just thinking all this sort of like me advising you to check in and fill out your
yeah.
spreadsheets. Do you think it's sort of made you, I don't know, more effective with work, or vice versa?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's because it's been because it's a system, right? It's a new system. It's a commitment. It's a system that you embed in your life. I think committing to this and changing my perspective on exercise and how I approach it. Now I'm like, I'm not just like a lone guy in the gym. I'm working with the support of you as a coach, and that has changed my mindset in terms of like, right, well, I need to make time for the workouts. I need to make time for the check-ins. I need to do all of these related things. I need to make sure I'm getting a good grocery list in place, because I'll buy stuff that actually is high in protein and good for me. And I think that flipped a switch a little bit for me, where rather than building my life around work, I was building my life around the fun stuff outside of work. And then I was like, right, then this is how. And I'm very fortunate. I mean, I live with my partner. We don't have kids. I don't have any health issues, and so I'm quite free to uh, explore all that. But it definitely has helped me reconceptualize the time around work, which is then spilled over and allowed me to think, right, well, this is how I can also take that sentiment and apply it to the professional setting and Yeah, definitely. It's like what do they say? A rising tide raises all ships, right? So I think that
Love that.
make
So never heard that before.
making yeah, it's a good one. It's quite a common one at work. They say a lot of people say that in interviews, but no, it is annoyingly true. That's the thing with truisms. There is an element of truth at the core of it, right? And I think if you can find that thing, what and just get a handle on that, there will be a sort of a knock-on domino effect for other aspects of your life for sure.
Definitely, yeah, and the confidence thing as well, right? I've
Mm,
had clients before who have completely changed how they look, and they get into this great habit of training, and they feel amazing, they feel good, they look good, and they've had
yeah,
like job promotions because their confidence has just increased
yeah,
so much.
yeah.
But did you get was it because so you used to before this job? What were you doing before?
I was an editor and journalist at the EDP and Evening
Yeah,
News. Yeah,
yeah, right, okay.
and
So
then
is this a bit of a is it was it a sidestep or is it a promotion? What's the
it was a step up. So yeah,
cool.
I got headhunted to join a digital publishing startup, and
Right,
yeah, so I went into from traditional newspapers that have been around for hundreds of years to working in a much faster paced. Um, I went from B to C, so to B to B content
right,
effectively, and yeah, it was a big step up. There's a lot more responsibility, and working at a startup is a different rhythm and dynamics to working at a very large news company, and so there was a lot more uh, yeah, responsibility and expectations, and yeah, it was a good step up, but it did mean that I had to think about my time and how I can meet those professional career goals, but also keep on top of my mental and physical health. And so, yeah, it's been exciting, but it has been challenging. And yeah, with your help, I've been able to kind of actually think, right, well, I know I've got a busy spell coming up. Let's recognize that. Let's adjust our expectations for the next couple of weeks, or um, let's not have quite such a harsh calorie deficit because you've got stuff coming up. And yeah, it all helps and it all facilitates one another.
yeah, yeah. And remember, like I think I've said before, we can still like implement other strategies like diet breaks and stuff into your coaching, if into your weeks and months, if that's something you think would benefit you. Because
Yeah,
like with your if it's stressful work,
yeah,
like being in a deficit is stressful, right? So um, being at work is stressful. So to get these two stressful pathways come into your life, then it can be pretty tough. So there's strategies we can implement definitely to make things easier
yeah.
for
I
sure.
think that I think that that's the diet breaks and those options. Whilst I haven't explored them yet, I appreciate having them and having them suggested to me, because for even though ultimately I've decided right now I still want to stick with the deficit and keep pushing through, I think that's because I'm aware, well, stress comes in waves, right? It goes up and down.
Mm,
You can't like, I'd love to say there was a way to live your life where there was like no stress, no challenges, no obstacles, but it just doesn't exist. And
mm,
it's about adapting to it, recognizing the ebbs and flows of life, and just trying to adjust as best you can in light of that. And so whether that's a diet break, whether that's, I know that if I turn around to you and said, hey Rich, I need to take a couple of weeks off and I just need to not go to the gym, like ultimately I've now got the awareness and the sort of the recognition that ultimately in the grand scheme of things, even 2 weeks off from the gym, whilst I might think, oh my god, I'm going to come back and not be able to lift anything, it's not true. Like you will retain some strength, still be able to pick things back up, and in a fitness journey or a health journey over months or years, those 2 weeks ain't going to matter. And it's just, yeah, it's being
exactly.
more realistic about things.
Exactly, and I guess it's nice to sort of hear just from someone to say, don't worry about it. Just take 2 weeks off, increase your calories slightly, enjoy yourself, go and relax, whatever, and just know that nothing bad's going to happen, and this is going to be good for you in the long run.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
thing is, you have built a very good physique over the last couple of years, but with everything happening in your life, the work and everything, like you've built a very good physique. So I'm really
thank
looking forward to getting you through the sort of fat loss phase
yeah, yeah,
back into the building phase again because do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I think
yeah,
there's a lot of potential there. still to go,
Yeah,
because you were lifting some very, very heavy weights.
yeah,
You still are, but as in, when the deficit came into play, then obviously it's going to take a hit. But yeah, you
yeah.
got huge potential, I think.
Thank you. No, and that is, and thank you. I appreciate that. I am looking forward to exploring the sort of the rest of this sort of deficit phase, wherever that goes. And it's not like I've got a number, because I don't know why I couldn't say to you an arbitrary number, right? Oh, right, this is the kilogram level I want to reach, because it's more about the feel of it, right? Until you're happy with your physique, how your clothes are fitting, your confidence. There's so much more that factors into it, to numbers like BMI or kilograms or whatever it is. And then, like you said, I mean, I love the building phase. I mean, the building phase is fun. You get to eat more, you get to lift heavy shit, you get to just kind of be a bit more free about how you approach it. And don't get me wrong, the deficit phase and the fat loss phase is still great, and there's still nice elements of it. But for me, I just think I more naturally gravitate towards that building phase. So I'm keen to get back to it. Probably will have to wait until after my wedding, because I know that I've got to get in a suit and not fluctuate too much, which is a practicality. And it's again another example of where you have to adjust to your life plans and what's going on. And for me, in August, I'm getting married. I need to get a suit fitted in the coming weeks, and I need to not bulk out or drop down in size, because I'm just going to have it have it readjusted or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so practically speaking, that's just something I have to factor in.
Yeah, that's weird you said that, because I went around a mate's last night to try on a suit, because we're going to Cyprus in June for his wedding, and
Yeah,
I gave my measurements to him maybe 2 months ago. Since
yeah,
then, I've lost a few pounds, so the trousers are too big, my jacket's a bit too big, so I've now got to go and
yeah,
and I said, well, I'm going to change it in about 2 months' time,
yeah.
because I'm still looking to lose a bit more body fat. So, but yeah, yeah, it's funny.
I mean, I bought a load of, as part of the. I mean, I've been at the new job for a year now, but I decided to invest in some new work clothes a few months ago, just to, just refresh the wardrobe a bit or whatever. And the bastards don't fit anymore, and it's like I'm having to do the belt on the tightest loop, and it's just, I'm like, damn it. And
Yeah,
because I just tend to lose weight most quickly from kind of my waist and my belly, which is good in some ways, but it also means that trousers tend to, and I'm already on the cusp, right? This is the other element of it. If you're one of those sizes where you're like, you trousers are what, in 30s or 32s, and you're a 31, and then you're already on the cusp as it is, to then drop down is annoying, but
yeah, yeah.
in the best possible way.
I was going to say, it's not a bad problem to have if you're wanting to get that result. You'll have people listen to this thinking, bastard, like he's complaining about losing body fat. God, it's me trying my hardest to shift this last kilo or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. So I mean, like, yeah, I guess the final question for me then: what is your ultimate goal, your ultimate physique? If you were able to just click your fingers and you would get there right now, what would you look like? How would you feel? What would your physique look like?
Do you know what? If you'd have asked me that about 5 years ago, I probably would have just said Tom Hardy and be like Tom
Right. Yeah.
Hardy Warrior, and that was like the big traps. And I know
Yeah.
that kind of like quite powerful, almost like gorilla-esque physique was probably what I would have said, which I've come to realize over time, that as much as I can do all I can and I can make progress improvements, like I just don't have the frame for certain builds, and that's fine. And you realize that with time, that you can't out train your frame and stuff like that. But I think now my ideal physique, I was speaking to my partner about this, is like, well, what's the end goal? What are you working towards? I think that I want to work towards a level of fitness where the idea of the future is quite important to me, and I want to be able to be fit and healthy into not only with potentially if and when I have children, but also my grandchildren. So that kind of the strong foundation where you can be fit, healthy, playful as a dad, as a granddad, is really important to me. But I guess it's changed from being super macho and Tom Hardy esque to actually just, hey, being able to say that guy works out, you can tell, nothing too obnoxious, and just saying like he looks in good shape. And yeah, it's just a bit more of a realistic goal, I guess.
Everyone's got their own sort of genetic ceiling, I suppose. And I'm sort of, it's nice to hear you say that you sort of you understand that yes, you may have this sort of physique in your head, but
Yeah.
you are you, I am me. We can't mold our
Yeah.
bodies too much out of that. We all have our sort of physique,
Yeah.
peak physique, I suppose, or physique potential.
Don't get me wrong. There are people who can out-train genetics or out-train their framework, but it takes a heroic effort. Like, I mean, you have to truly,
Or drugs.
yeah, or drugs. Yeah, I mean, that was the elephant in the room there. But you have to truly base your entire existence around it. And I'd love to say, Rich, that the work we do is my entire existence, but it isn't. Like, you have to recognize the balance. There are so many things in life that you need to nurture and look after. But like you said, there's that you have to find your own, and that is one of the things that the coaching has helped me over time realize, is that you have to kind of, rather than externalize, well, I want to look like that person, I want to look like that person, it's about finding the you that you want to work towards, and that is very personal, it's unique to you, and that is crucial. And that's a big switch that a lot of people can make by working with a coach like yourself and just going through that journey, I think.
Nice. Good answer. Good way to, I think, a good way to sign off. I think, to be honest,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been great to have you on and chatting about all things coaching and training and all
Yeah.
sorts. But it's been good, mate. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for coming on. Hopefully, it will help a few people, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Hopefully, for many more months to come and get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to chat about it. And I hope, like you said, I just hope this helps someone out there who's either on a similar journey or about to start a similar journey. And yeah, just keep up the good work is all I'd say.
Brilliant. Nice one, Ben. Thank you.
All right. Cheers. Thank you.